we've been going through all the stuff you guys have been sending us, and one thing that really popped out was how often you bring up frustration in the classroom.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? I mean, whether you're a teacher going through it right now, or even if you think back to being a student yourself,
Hmm.
it's one of those feelings that just seems to be everywhere.
It is. It's so universal, right? Like everybody experiences it, and it can be a real challenge.
Totally. And what's kind of surprising is how little it's actually been studied. Like when you look at the research,
Right.
we hear all about, teacher burnout and how to keep students engaged and all that, which is super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
But but this very specific emotion of like teacher frustration,
Yeah,
it hasn't always gotten the attention it deserves, I think.
you're absolutely right. And, we talk about burnout, but frustration is often like the precursor to burnout.
Right, exactly. It's like the warning sign that something's not quite right.
Exactly.
So that's what we're going to try to unpack today. What are those little those friction points that can lead to a teacher feeling frustrated? And then just as importantly,
Yeah.
what are some ways that teachers can deal with those feelings productively? Not let them take over.
Right. Healthy coping mechanisms.
Exactly. And to do that, we've gathered research from a bunch of different fields because it's not just an education thing, it's a human thing.
Absolutely. It's interdisciplinary for sure.
So to kick things off, we actually wanted to focus on an article that you sent our way, which was great. It's called Frustration in the Classroom: Causes and Strategies to Help Teachers Cope Productively.
Yeah.
It's from the Educational Psychology Review Journal.
Great journal.
And it really lays out a nice framework for understanding this whole thing.
It does. It really gets to the heart of the matter.
So let's jump into that article to start.
Yeah.
What are some of the common themes that they point to? Like, what are the main things that seem to be causing this frustration for teachers?
It's interesting because it's not always the huge things. Yeah, like a major classroom disruption or a really difficult parent.
Right.
Often it's the smaller everyday stuff that really adds up.
Like death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And those small things can really get in the way of a teacher trying to, achieve their goals for the day.
It's like you have this vision of how the lesson's going to go,
Yeah,
and then reality just keeps hitting you with these little curveballs.
totally. And, some examples the article gives are things like a student who's constantly calling out
Oh, yeah.
or technology that decides to stop working right when you need it most
I've been there.
or just the never-ending pile of administrative tasks.
Right, right. It's like you never get to the actual teaching sometimes.
Exactly. And all those things, they chip away at your energy and your focus.
It's exhausting.
It really is. And the article specifically focuses on the frustration that comes from the relationship between teachers and students.
Okay, so it's about that dynamic in the classroom.
Exactly. It's when a teacher feels like they're constantly running into roadblocks when they're trying to connect with their students and help them learn.
So it's not just that the lesson's not working, it's that you're feeling blocked and trying to reach the students.
Exactly. And that can manifest in different ways. Maybe you have students who are really struggling with a concept even after you explained it multiple times.
Hmm.
Or maybe there's a general lack of motivation in the classroom that's really hard to overcome.
Oh, yeah. It can be contagious.
It really can. Or maybe there are a few students whose behavior is really disruptive and it's impacting everyone else's learning.
Right. And it's interesting because any one of those things on its own might not be a huge deal.
Yeah, you could probably handle it.
But when it's all happening at once every single day,
Exactly. That's when it becomes really hard.
it's like a recipe for frustration.
It is. And the article emphasizes how this can have a serious impact on a teacher's well-being.
Because you start to feel like you're just not effective.
Exactly. You feel like you're spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere.
And it can be really demoralizing.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have strategies to deal with these feelings.
Because the article doesn't just tell us about the problem, it also gives us some potential solutions, right?
It does.
Ah.
They offer some really practical strategies that teachers can use to manage these feelings of frustration.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
interested. Tell me more about that.
Well, they break it down into three main areas, which they call empathy simplification and reappraisal.
Empathy, simplification, and reappraisal.
Yes, those are the key words.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one. When they talk about empathy in this context, what do they mean?
Well, they're talking about consciously making an effort to see things from the student's perspective.
Okay.
And that can be really powerful. Because instead of just getting stuck in that feeling of frustration with a particular behavior,
Mm-hmm.
you start to think about what might be causing that behavior.
So you're going beyond the surface level.
Exactly. So, for example, if you have a student who's constantly acting out,
Right.
instead of just feeling frustrated by the disruption, you might try to figure out what's going on in their life.
Maybe there's some things happening at home.
Yeah, or maybe they're struggling with a learning disability.
Or maybe they just need more attention from you.
Exactly. And sometimes just knowing that can make a big difference.
Because it shifts your whole perspective.
It does. Instead of thinking, this student is trying to make my life difficult,
Yeah.
you start to think, okay, this student is struggling and they need my help.
It's a more compassionate approach.
Exactly. And that can really diffuse the frustration.
That makes sense. What about simplification? How does that come into play?
So simplification is all about taking a step back
Mm-hmm.
and looking at your teaching process and your learning environment
Okay.
and figuring out if there are things that are unnecessarily complicated.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, it could be the way you're explaining a concept.
Okay.
Maybe you're using language that's too advanced for your students, or maybe the instructions for an assignment are too vague,
Right.
or maybe the classroom itself is just too cluttered and distracting.
Too much visual noise.
Exactly. And all of these things can create frustration for both the teacher and the students.
Because it makes it harder for everyone to focus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So by simplifying things, you can proactively reduce the potential for frustration.
So it's about being really intentional about how you present information, how you set up the learning environment.
Exactly. And it can be as simple as breaking down a complex concept into smaller chunks
Right.
or providing really clear step-by-step instructions.
I like that it's all about setting everyone up for success.
Absolutely. And then the last strategy they talk about is reappraisal.
Okay, and that one sounds a little bit more mental.
It is.
Mm.
It's about changing the way you think about a situation.
So not letting your emotions run away with you.
Exactly. So instead of dwelling on the negative aspects of a frustrating situation,
Like feeling like you failed or that the lesson was a disaster.
yeah, you try to find a different way to look at it.
Okay, give me an example.
So let's say you spent hours planning a lesson and it just totally bombs.
Oh, I've been there. It's the worst.
Right. Instead of just feeling defeated and frustrated.
Which is so tempting to do.
It is. But instead of doing that,
Yeah.
you could try to reappraise the situation and think about it as a learning opportunity.
Okay, so you're looking for the silver lining.
Exactly. Maybe you realize that you need to adjust your approach, or that you need to do a better job of gauging your students' understanding.
So you're turning that negative experience into something positive.
Exactly. You're reframing it.
It's like taking control of your thoughts instead of letting them control you.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in how you handle frustration.
It's a really interesting approach. I like that. Now, the article also talks about the role of the teacher themselves, like their own personal qualities.
Yeah, that's a really important part of the equation.
Because we can talk about all these external strategies, but if you don't have the inner resources...
Right. It's not going to be as effective.
Exactly. So what are some of the things they highlight?
Well, they talk about things like resilience.
Okay. Which is basically the ability to bounce back from setbacks.
Exactly. And teachers need a lot of that.
Oh, for sure.
They also talk about self-efficacy.
Which is basically believing in yourself and your ability to do your job.
Exactly. And for teachers, that means believing that you can effectively teach your students and manage your classroom.
And that's so important because if you don't believe in yourself, it's going to be really hard to stay motivated when things get tough.
Absolutely. And then finally, they talk about emotional regulation.
Okay, so being able to manage your emotions.
Exactly. Because let's face it, teaching is an emotional job.
You're dealing with people all day long.
Yeah, and sometimes those people can be really challenging.
Especially when they're little people.
Especially then. So being able to keep your cool and not let your emotions get the better of you is really important.
It's like having that inner calm.
Exactly. And the article suggests that teachers who have strong emotional regulation skills are better able to handle frustration in the classroom.
It makes sense because you're not letting those negative feelings spiral out of control.
Exactly. You're able to stay grounded and focused.
Now, it's interesting because the researchers also point out that there's still a lot that we don't know about teacher frustration.
Yeah, that's right. They highlight some really important areas for future research.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, for example, they say we need to understand more about how different types of frustration affect teachers differently.
Okay, so is it different to be frustrated with a student versus being frustrated with the administration?
Exactly. We don't really know the answer to that yet.
Interesting.
They also point out that we need to understand how cultural factors might play a role.
Because different cultures might express frustration in different ways.
Exactly, and that could impact how it's perceived in the classroom.
Right. And what about the long-term effects of all this frustration?
Yeah, that's another big question they raise.
Because if you're constantly feeling frustrated, it's got to have some kind of impact on you.
It does. And we need to understand more about what that impact is.
So even with this really insightful article, it feels like we're just starting to scratch the surface of this whole thing.
We are. It's a really complex issue.
But the good news is that at least people are starting to pay attention to it.
They are, and that's a really positive step.
Okay, so let's pull it all together. What are the key takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that teacher frustration is a real thing, and it deserves our attention.
And it's not just about complaining or being negative.
No, it's about understanding the very real challenges that teachers face and finding ways to support them.
Exactly. And what's encouraging is that we're starting to identify some concrete strategies that teachers can use to manage those feelings of frustration.
Yeah, like those three we talked about.
Yeah.
Empathy, simplification, and reappraisal.
Right. And beyond that, it's about teachers developing their own inner strength and resilience.
Absolutely. Those
Yeah.
things are essential.
So I think it's a message of hope, really. Teacher frustration is something we can address, and we can help teachers feel more empowered and less overwhelmed.
Exactly.
This has been such a great conversation,
I agree.
and I really hope that it's resonated with you, our listeners.
Me too.
So I want to leave you with a few things to think about. Have you ever experienced frustration in a learning environment?
Yeah.
Maybe as a teacher, or maybe as a student.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, can you see how maybe using some of the strategies we talked about could have helped?
Interesting question.
And also, what aspects of teacher frustration do you think are the most important or maybe need more research? Because this is an ongoing conversation.
Absolutely. We need to keep talking about it.
Because ultimately, understanding our emotions, even the tough ones like frustration,
Yeah.
it can help us create better, more fulfilling experiences for ourselves and for everyone around us.
I completely agree.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
It's been a pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
Sounds great.